a time when there was going to be a harmonic convergence where supposedly, all of a sudden, um, astrological energies shift and everybody just suddenly loves each other. Instead of waiting for something to happen, we're trying to bring it about. My name is Greg Kirk. I am a Lyme disease advocate. I help patients with Lyme disease afford treatment because it's a very difficult illness. It's spreading all over the world. It's in the United States where I live. So I had it for 12 years. I had a very difficult time treating it, and I got better and using some herbal treatments, and that's how I help patients. I almost died from the treatment, and I'll be talking a little bit more about that a little bit later. I was diagnosed with Lyme disease back in 2005, and prior to that, I didn't know anything about Lyme disease. Many of my doctors, the testing for Lyme disease is not very good. So I went 2 years of having symptoms, very bad feelings after eating a meal. I would feel like I needed to lie down and go to sleep. And this would be in the middle of the day. I had aches and pains. I had trouble thinking. I had trouble articulating at work where I was working. And my doctors at the time thought, well, these symptoms aren't life-threatening, so maybe you try to learn to live with them. But my symptoms started getting worse, so I finally went to a different doctor who did give me the diagnosis for Lyme disease. So we started treatment. It gave me antibiotics, and the antibiotics actually made me feel worse. So after about a month of that, my doctor said, stay on the antibiotics until you feel better. And I kept feeling worse and worse and worse. So I figured that since this is an infection, I would like to disinfect my body. So if I'm taking oral antibiotics and that wasn't working very well, why don't we try something more dramatic, something more strong? So I asked for an intravenous line to be put in. It's called a PICC line, P-I-C-C. It's a line where you need to go to the hospital and have it put in surgically. So I didn't know a lot of the details about how this was going to happen, but I knew I had to go to the hospital. So the doctors there didn't explain very much about what was going to happen, but I got surgery. So there I was getting a line put in my arm. I didn't realize that it went all the way to my heart. So during the operation, my heart was jabbed. So they jabbed what's called the sinusoidal node inside my heart. That is the internal pacemaker of your natural pacemaker of your heart. That was jabbed on the operating table. And at that point, my blood pressure went down. My vital signs fluctuated. So they kept me there in the hospital. They fed me. They put me on a gurney. They put me out in the hallway and waited for me to recover. Gave me some lunch. And then when they realized I was going to be okay, I drove home. So it's crazy. So anyway, about a week later, I was giving myself the antibiotics. Actually, before that, I called the doctor, telling them that I had a really bad situation. Actually, later that night, I went to sleep. During the sleep, I rolled over on it, and the line went deeper into my heart. I had basically a heart attack. So I called the doctor the next day and said, these bad things are happening to me from the PICC line. What should I do? And he said, continue, just keep it in. This is the worst part. You're going to get over it. Do the antibiotics. So I kept doing the antibiotics, and for about 2 weeks later, my wife and I had a really bad argument, and I went into our guest bedroom and I laid down and I had another heart attack. And this time I was feeling so awful. I wanted to die. I basically was saying, okay, good, take me away. And the crazy thing is, I've heard of other people's testimonies about near-death experiences where they leave their body, and I did not have that, but I had what I would call a mental death. I was fully prepared to die. I basically was saying to God, take me, I'm ready to go. I've had a great life. I can't stand living the way I am now with all these Lyme disease symptoms. And as I did that, this lasted about an hour. I ended up falling asleep and I didn't die. And when I woke up the next day, I thought, now what? I wanted to die. I didn't die. I thought I was going to die. What's going to happen now? And within 3 days, all these spiritual things started happening in my life. All these coincidences where I met a healer through a radio station who I paid a very expensive, I paid a lot of money to have a session with him over the phone. And during the session, he started removing all these negative energies off of me that I could feel. So it was an incredible healing situation where I'm talking to him on the phone, and my vision is changing. My depression that I'd had for 2 years is going away, and he's talking to angels around me on the phone. And one of the things that he said was, he's more special than you know. And I said, what do you mean? Who are you talking to? Are you talking to me? And he said, no, I'm talking to your angel guides, and they're telling me that you are more special than I know, and that you're going to be doing healing like this, like I do. You're going to write a book. You're going to help people. You're going to fight the good fight. And this is 3 days after I almost died. Okay, so this was a crazy situation. And basically, fast forward almost 20 years later, everything that he said came true. I wrote a book about my experience. I do energy healing very much like this man does, and I help patients with Lyme disease. So that was just one of the things that happened to me, but that was, related to the near-death experience. That's what happened. I mean, a week after I met him, I met another woman who's a healer who helped me do, the healing that I do today. So here's what happened. So after I met these two healers who helped me, I was still physically ill from Lyme disease. So I still needed to be on treatment. So it was a very confusing time for me because I was having a spiritual awakening. I was beginning to heal other people, but I was still sick. I couldn't heal myself. So that was the unusual thing. So about a few months later, after all this happened, I consulted a psychic to try to see what I should do. And one of the things we talked about was was a healer I had heard about named John of God. I asked the psychic about John of God. I just heard about him through watching videos and so forth. And she surprisingly said to me, you should go right away. And again, I'm still physically ill. So the prospect of flying 10 hours to Brazil on a plane flight, leaving my family for 2 weeks, my first time there, they basically said, you go up and you touch his hand and he will tell you what's prescribed next. And none of that happened. Like, I walked up and the person who was my interpreter pulled me away from him, and he said some words to her. And then, they sat me down in this area, which is like a church pew, and there's hundreds of people around me meditating. And I thought, oh my God, I flew all the way down here, and that was my chance, and I didn't even touch him. I didn't look him in the eye like they told me to do. None of this, is going to happen. And as I sat there, something descended down on me. Some supernatural light came down, went into my body, and I just burst into tears. And I realized that I was here because I was feeling, I was feeling defeated at that point. And I thought, I came down here, my family is missing me. I feel bad. I feel guilty that I'm down here and they're not with me and they're missing me. And as my heart just opened up, and I realized that in order to be a good father, a good parent, a good husband, I had to come down to Brazil to heal myself. And as I felt that, this energy from the angels, I believe, I could feel all my angels around me, descended into my body. I just burst into tears. My heart opened up. It was a life-changing experience. And I had several of those there in Brazil. And the most dramatic was when one of the last days that we were there, they all wanted us to go to this specific waterfall that runs through a crystal stream. Like, it's this magical place. So we're there at the waterfall, and it's not a very big waterfall. It's only like this wide, but you get under it, and this magical water more or less hits you, and you have a healing event. And I didn't really believe this was going to be a healing event, but I was watching other people have reactions to it. And as I was standing there waiting to go in line, I wasn't even in the waterfall, and suddenly I felt every cell in my body just open up and explode. I felt I was healed at that moment. I knew I was healed. All my symptoms completely went away. So at that point, when I was feeling that, they said, "Okay, Greg, it's your turn to go." And I went into the waterfall, and the strangest thing happened. The water hit me, and it was cold, but it wasn't even near my face or anything. It was hitting me like on my chest, and I couldn't breathe. And I was holding everything in. And people there who had been through it said, "Greg, this is going to let all of your blocks, this is going to wash all of your blocks away. Just let it go away." Some people were telling me to pray. Other people were telling me, let it all go. And as soon as I relaxed and let it all go, it was an incredible experience. I felt all my troubles, all my old beliefs, everything that I was holding on to about myself, about my personality, the disease, everything, it washed away. It was incredible. So we drove back to the hotel where I was, and I was washing my hands and washing my face after being in the water, and I looked up in the mirror, and I just burst out laughing because it didn't look like what I had seen in the mirror an hour before. It looked like I had age regressed like 10 years. And I thought, oh my God, this place is making me crazy. Like, I can't believe it looks like I age regressed. So I got on the phone with my wife through FaceTime, and I get on, and the first thing she says to me, "Oh my God, what happened to you? You look different." And that's when I just started bursting. I burst into tears, and I said, I'm healed. I am healed. So after that experience, it completely changed my life. When I came home, I was a different person. People could tell. They looked at me. I looked different. The healing gifts that I was working on prior to this experience completely exploded. Is always God helping me. Yeah. So just to be clear about this, it's not, I don't think it's me doing the healing. I think it is, I think everybody has a set of guides around them, like an angelic team. You could say it's God, it's the person's higher self, it's whatever that's what's happening. It's the person's higher self is healing them, or God, or, the angels. I'm just able to see certain aspects of it. That's the gift I have. I can see some of these things. Sometimes I get some information, or like I said earlier with the past life thing, I'm able to see certain visions. It's kind of like watching a movie or seeing a dream of just a glimpse of a person's past life. So, yeah, it's not me doing the healing. That's one thing I learned in my training early on. If you think you're doing the healing, then you have a big ego, and your ego is getting in the way. All you're doing is holding space, and you're allowing the person's energy to heal itself, through God or through the angels or through their higher self, however you want to describe it. One thing I do is I run a online group healing circle every weekend, and we get a group of people together. So I do a little bit of channeling from time to time. Well, it's every weekend, honestly. So we're in a group meditation, and the first, purpose or focus of the meditation is for people to heal. But then after that, we ask the guides, anyone who's around who is of a higher purpose. We set boundaries, just to be clear. We don't let anybody come in. We only let those communicate with us who are have our best interest in mind, the interest of humanity, the interest of the earth, and we keep all dark energies away. So with that, and we don't ever let any other energies come into our circle. We don't want anybody's energies to be touched. So from time to time, we get information, and the information we get is, pretty amazing. Yeah, what did we get last week? Basically that, oh, yeah. So here's what they said about humanity. So they're like, basically, they're saying, don't wait for a savior. You are the ones to save yourselves. And so we ask, how do we save ourselves? And they say, start with yourself. They basically said the words, tend to your own garden, meaning allow your own energy to be your garden and allow it to grow. So they gave us a number of different, it sounds so simple. They just basically said, eat well, get good rest, be good to other people, all this stuff, but raise your vibration. They said your single most important thing that you can do is to keep your vibration high. If your vibration is high, you're happy. Do whatever you can to keep it high. It'll keep you happy and healthy. Your vibration will start to broadcast out. You'll start to attract other people of the like kind. You also will have an effect on other people without having to say words if your vibration is high enough. So they gave us, they gave us a special meditation to do. So it's, it was not what I expected. It was very practical information. It wasn't, I don't know what I expected, but it was basically work on yourself is what they said. Work on yourself, raise your high. If you want to change humanity, start with yourself, which I think is really wise advice. That's interesting. So one of the meditations they gave us, they call it anchoring the light. It's a very specific meditation where we start visualizing a ball of light at the top of our heads and then going down through all of our chakras and then down to the center of the earth, and then pulling that information down into the earth and raising love in our heart chakras. And basically holding that energy for as long as possible. And they call that anchoring the light. And they've made a big deal out of it. These channeled guides that we're getting, who basically said that this is what you're here to do. You're here to connect with the earth because the earth is your mother, and you're supposed to send information through you to let the earthly mother know what your life is like and to raise love, So we do that every time. That was more or less the instruction that we got. So we do that. We feel like we're contributing, because the other part of it, one thing is, raising the vibration of humanity and helping humanity, but Earth, you can't forget about the earth that we walk and live on. The earth is our mother. She birthed us, taking good care of her is the other aspect of it. More back to what I was saying earlier. I know people are waiting for something to happen, but the people in my group are trying to bring about the thing that we're waiting for. Do you understand the difference? So there's a lot of people who are like, I'm waiting for the big flash, or I'm waiting for the big coronal mass emission, or I'm waiting for, the second coming, that kind of thing. And these guides, we've attracted different sets of angelic people, extraterrestrials. They're all interested in what we're doing, and more or less they're saying, don't wait for anything. You need to move the needle yourself. You need to push this love energy into the earth and outwards. So that's what we're trying to do. And sometimes in the middle of us doing this in a meditation, we kind of put our consciousness out there and see other balls of light around the earth that people are doing something similar. So I think that's, instead of waiting for something to happen, we're trying to bring it about. And I think that's good advice for anyone. It's kind of like, tend to your own garden, tend to yourself, raise your vibration, get that going, because once we do, this is going to be a chain reaction of love that happens throughout the world. Interesting. Months, maybe more than a year ago, actually, I think it was right around the time of the Ukraine war, and there was a lot of other political things going on in the United States that people in the group were getting upset about. So we asked the guides, what do we do in a chaotic world, And that's when they came up with the term tend your own garden, because the first thing they said was stop watching the news. Stop it. It's negative. It makes you feel bad. So if it makes you feel bad, why do you keep watching it? And they basically said to us, for every war that you see in the world, the opposite of it is happening also in the world. Something really beautiful is happening. New babies are being born. Something, groups of people are meditating and loving each other. It's just, focus on that. So, and they also, basically said some interesting things like, all right, if you did focus on a war, are you going to be able to stop it yourself? You're going to get frustrated trying to pursue that. And it's just, you're going to get sucked into this negative whirlpool of emotion if you continue occupying your mind with the wars and the terrible things that are going on in the world. So they also gave us a meditation to do to send love out to different places in the world where there's strife. So places of war and conflict, but also prisons, hospitals. And so, for about a year or so, we all got our group together and we sent love out to every place in the world. And, I don't know if it helped. Hopefully it did. But basically, the guys were saying to us, that makes a bigger impact than marching in the street and protesting war. A little bit earlier, if you're wanting like the new earth, we've all heard about, the age of Aquarius, the new world, the birth of the new earth, where everybody's going to love everybody else and everything's going to be great. Don't wait for it. We need to start making it happen now. So start with yourself. Be a loving person as much as you can. Really understand, there's really one commandment, and that's to love other people as yourself. If you really can do that, the world, and once you realize that we're all threads in the same cloth, we're all, we look different, we have different languages, we think different things, but we're all human. We're all from the earth, so we're all in this together. If you think of more of our commonalities than our differences, then it's easier to love each other. So that is how basically we need to have a revolution of love. And if we do that, we don't have to wait for anything. The new world will give birth, and it'll be a fantastic event. It's just, we need to have more and more people. We need to have a groundswell of people doing this. Yeah, so that's something people have talked about for quite a while. A time when there was going to be a harmonic convergence where supposedly, all of a sudden, astrological energies shift and everybody just suddenly loves each other. And, that's what everybody wants, right? Everybody wants to live in a world of tolerance and love and peace and understanding. But everybody's so different. And also we have, governments that don't believe in that, so what do you do about it? That's the dilemma. I think that gets back to your question about war. What do you do about that? If there are, all these governments out there that really don't care about peace and love and tolerance, and they care more about wars and war profiteering and all this kind of stuff, what do you do about that? Well, we've decided in our healing group to send love to those people, to soften them up, to realize that many of those people have families. They wouldn't want their families to be involved in this stuff, and really try to, forgive them for what they've done, and just to send love to them every day. It's an exercise that we do even in our group. When somebody has been in traffic and somebody yells at them in traffic, and they come into the group and, oh my God, this person just yelled at me and made an obscene gesture at me. What do I do about it? Well, we send love to the other person in the car, and hopefully that stops the chain reaction of negative emotion. Because if you just think about it, if you get in an argument with somebody and then that person goes away and says bad things about you and is angry, that starts a chain reaction of negativity. But if you can stop it and send out positive energy and good vibes everywhere, it's going to make it all the way around the world. Will the age of Aquarius have an influence on 2024? Sure. I mean, it could. It very much could. I think that's the goal. There's a song about it that was created by the band The Fifth Dimension called The Age of Aquarius. It was in the movie and the musical Hair. It's a really good song, and it talks about peace, love, and understanding. But I think that's the goal that everybody is hoping for. So, I think in the song they're waiting for it to happen because of the way the stars are aligned. When the moon is in the 7th house and Jupiter aligns with Mars, those are the lyrics. So they're literally waiting for the stars to line up. I don't, maybe that'll make it easier to love each other, but we don't have to wait. We can start loving each other now and softening the world. And yeah, that's my thought. So I think more, I talk to I'm friends with a lot of different healers as well, and they feel the same way. There's no reason to wait for this time that we all want. So let's get it going. I have a psychic ability, somewhat, also healing abilities. I mean, if you want, I can tell you a story about a miraculous healing that I was a part of, if you're interested in that. So after I came back from Brazil and wrote my book, some people at a local wellness and healing center found out about me, read my book, and contacted me and asked me if I would like to help patients with Lyme disease at their wellness center. They wanted me to do energy healing. So I said, great. So I gave some presentations to a group of about 50 people one night, and then many of them came back like the next Saturday and wanted scheduled healing sessions with me. So, energy healing sessions, Reiki type sessions where I use tuning forks, and sometimes I see past life events from people. And basically the whole point is to try to remove blocks from the person's, so that they can heal, or they can have a, spiritual advancement, or just have a better life. So one woman came in and she had Lyme disease and no medicine had worked. And so we did 2 sessions in person, 2 weeks in a row, and it was going okay. It was no big deal. And then the 3rd session, she was not able to come in person. So I said, okay, that's no problem. We can do a session by phone. We can do it remotely. It works. Your body's just not there. We'll work directly energetically. So we started the session. And one of the first things I saw this woman, her face turned into, like, she had a powdered wig on. It looked like she was in France like 400 years ago. And I told her this. I said, I think I'm seeing a past life of yours. I'm seeing you 400 years ago. You have a very tall powdered wig. And then I started seeing things that was not complimentary of her. And plus, she's a Catholic. So, I didn't know if she even believed in past lives, but she was okay with it. And I said, I'm seeing something almost like you were a prostitute or something. And she said, what? And I said, well, then I got the full download of what happened. She lived in France and was a part of the aristocracy. So she had a lot of money. Not just her husband did, but her husband died. So when her husband died, he didn't leave her any money, and she had 2 children that she needed to provide for. And so the only thing that she knew how to do was to sleep with some of her husband's old friends, and they supported her financially. She was more or less a consort. So I told her that, and then all of a sudden, as I told her that, I saw that one of the men, an older man who she had been sleeping with, got in an argument with her and pushed her down the stairs and injured her shoulder. And then she said, Greg, I didn't tell you, but I have a rotator cuff tear. I'm getting surgery next week. And as you're telling me this, my arm is heating up. I said, really? And so I said, okay, just go with it. I'm sure you're getting some healing from this. And she said, okay. So anyway, the session ended and I didn't think anything of it. So when I met her in person again as scheduled, the next week. So she came in and I was sitting there having tea with the owner of the wellness center. She comes in and the owner and I look at her and she looks better than we've ever seen her. She looks fantastic, almost like she's glowing. She sits down with us and she's laughing and she says, "You guys are never going to believe what just happened with me." She said, "A few days ago, I went to see my doctor because he had scheduled me for rotator cuff surgery. So they did a CAT scan on me to see how big the tear was, how much they were going to have to operate on. And they came back into the room and they said, what did you do? There's no tear. There's no reason for surgery. You're healed." And the owner, so we were very surprised to hear this, of course. And the owner of the wellness center said, "Hold on, I'm going to go get a video camera. We're going to do a testimonial." And as the woman went to go get the camera, the patient leaned into me and said, "And by the way, Greg, I don't have Lyme disease anymore. Everything, all the symptoms went away just from that session." What did I learn from that experience? I learned that my life changed directly afterwards. I was an angry person. I was a sick person. I had a lot of beliefs about how to get better, that I wasn't getting better. And that night when I let everything go, where I said I wanted to leave, I wanted to die. All my expectations, all my beliefs, all the things that I was holding on to, I let go of. And after that happened, everything in my life changed. And I mean, this is the advice I give to people now, who, when I tell them this story, if you're in a bad place in your life, if you're having trouble healing, sometimes it's the best thing for you to hit bottom and to let go of everything, let go of your responsibility of it, because honestly, it's your belief system and that you're holding on to that it may make you continue being sick. That's clearly what happened with me, because after I let go of all those beliefs, the angry feelings I had victimhood feeling. I felt like I was a victim. I let go of all of that, and my energy started to rise. I started to attract different people in my life, other healers who helped heal me and then to help train me to be a healer. That's basically what happened.